Can I make a confession here, please? You know, the one person who's most jealous right now is my wife Dipali, who's watching it live. Now, I'll tell you the story. Um, I got connected to Adilda thanks to Joyda here. And we exchanged some messages. And the one thing that I learned about Adilda very early on is that he doesn't like to respond with words but with voice. She responded with a long voice text, a voice message. And I don't know how many of you know that Adilda is not just the sexiest actor in the country, he also has the sexiest voice. Okay? And I had that voice message and I showed it to my wife Dipali and we played it and she literally fell on her knees. So if all the women in the room are feeling a little weak on your knees, completely understandable. I thought the best way to introduce Adilda is to embarrass him a little bit. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the finest actors and the winner of the Best Actor Award for Footprints of Water, Adil Hussain. So, you know, this is pretty unscripted, and Adilda wanted it that way. I prefer it that way. We thought, hum log thoda gappe marenge. You know, we'll just chat. We'll talk about inclusion. We'll talk about movies. But let me first ask you, Adilda, how are you feeling?
Very, very overwhelmed. This is my first time in my life that I'm in a situation where I feel very small in front of the giant, the magnitude of the largeness and magnitude of the spirit that I have seen since the time I have arrived here. So in front of that, I feel very, very small, and that is so humbling, and I didn't expect it at all, so thank you so much for inviting me here. Thank you, everyone, for those who are here, and yeah, so I'm very, very touched and moved and overwhelmed, humbled, so many things. Probably I would be able to articulate later properly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Adilda. Now, you know, all of you know Adilda through his famous movies, Life of Pi, English August, and all of that. But there's one movie which I think everybody should see. It's called What Will People Say? I think it's in Netflix, or I watched in one of the OTT channels. It's just an incredibly touching movie. One of the things that every time I watch Adilda's movies, one thing that I find happening is that he seems to elevate women in the movies. And I think every conscientious man should be a feminist. Every conscientious man should be a feminist. And the reason I'm saying this is, in some movies, like the one that I just spoke about, What Will People Say? He's actually is not necessarily a feminist, is the opposite. But even there, the roles he played has elevated women. And when I talk about inclusion, there's such a wide spectrum. So I just wanted to understand, is that a very conscious thing that you do, that the roles that you pick seems to always have some deep message in it, sometimes in a very subtle manner? And I'm sure you are a feminist. I'm sure you are a conscientious man. Is that how you pick up the roles that you do?
The definition of the words that you spoke of, feminism, I think what I probably would be able to respond to your observation especially is that early on in my life, I had met amazing human beings who have educated me in a way which was very unique. Like, for example, one of my teachers, his name is Khalid Tayyibji, and the last day of the school, I asked him that, Adil, sir, what is your advice for me as I leave your, mentorship? He said, Adil, try to be in touch with your feminine side from today. Um, Having said that, when you say elevating women, I would say, am I a feminist? That is the other question you asked me. But I think I am neither feminist nor I'm a misogynist. I think that I have, at this point of time, if I can say, if I can articulate it properly, I would say that I do not recognize my inner spirit to be male or female. And that is the standpoint, that is the philosophical, spiritual understanding of all great masters who are born, who took birth in India, right from Ramana Maharshi to Sri Aurobindo or Ramakrishna Mahaprabhu, or the Sufis. My grandfather also was a Sufi saint from Iraq. He walked to Assam and he settled down there. Also Lahiri Mahashay or Kabir. I think that once we start identifying ourselves, I'm coming, because it's very, very ironical. The question that you asked me also is a very significant question, is that you are the organizer, the brain behind of this particular event, and had been doing it for such a long time, which has got this amazing word called inclusivity. So, as an actor, my job is to always include, all the characters that I had been asked to play, including Hitler, or I played Mephistopheles, who is the devil, written by Christopher Marlowe. I also played one of the nicest person on the planet in a film or in a play. So my journey is to include, and I also had played a woman trapped in man's body in a French film called Crash Test Ugly, which was never released in India. So in my journey of trying to understand who am I, which was definitely inspired by Ramana Maharshi. He was the man who started this entire process of asking questions. So I somehow feel that in order for creating awareness of inclusivity, we can be choosy sometimes, like we are less aware of, in our society, we're not very aware of so many aspects of the people that I have met today, the kind of abilities, special abilities that so many people don't know about it. But I'm saying this should be, we must find a way to educate people who, to be inclusive generally. You see, you include everything. You do not exclude anything. No matter what you are, who you are, how you are, and why you are. Whatever the way you are. So that is only probably organically possible when we can educate people to understand that the body is not only who you are. It is my body, but it is my body means I own this body, but then who am I? This is my arm, my right arm. This is my left arm. This is Adil's head. These are Adil's thought and Adil's emotion, but who is this Adil who owns all these? So that education in India, and of course abroad, is missing completely from our education system. And strangely, in India, the basic tenet of all spiritual practice in India is to look at everybody as equal, and not only as bodies, but as souls and spirits. And I wonder why this is not being taught in India. Then we wouldn't have this issue. You need not do this convention today if we are taught from our childhood. And the profound wisdom all these amazing masters, great masters have talked about, it's not in the common conversation in India. And it is not religious. Some people can be atheist and all that. And absolutely, and I think we should question everything that what we hear, what we see, what we feel, what we think, what we idealize. All things should be questioned. But so, answering your question, that elevation of the characters or the films that I do, because probably the credit goes to my teachers, that they have taught me to include, like I cannot have an iota of judgment about the roles that I play. I cannot. If I have a tiny drop of judgment about the role I'm playing, even if I play Hitler, I cannot have a tiny drop of judgment about Hitler. I have to completely accept that person. Not necessarily agree with the person, but accept it and understand it, and it has to be explainable why he or she is doing what she is doing. So, yeah, it's a long
beautiful.
Answer to a short question.
I want to go back a little bit to your early days, and you started with theater from a small place. You started by doing a lot of mimicry. Of course, you went to NSD. You've been known for your work in theater, but you probably got a lot of fame in Bollywood. Now, this is a complex. It's a complex tussle between fame versus loving what you absolutely do, which is theater. And I know you said that for probably most part of your life, you were never paid to do the work that you did. So I just wanted to understand, how do you manage the dichotomy? These are kind of sometimes very opposite worlds, right? You get the fame for one thing, but that may not be what you really want to do. How do you manage that? Is this kind of a necessity of life?
Same as what I just said, you do not judge. But before that, I had the same moral quandary, as you say. And I went to my acting teacher who lives in southern India. Apart from that, I'm not allowed to say anything about him. So I went to him and I asked him that, Dada, this is my problem. It feels that I'm just glorifying myself. I'm an actor and I'm famous and I'm earning money. And is this what I'm supposed to do? Is this enough? Is there anything else? What is my contribution to the society? What am I actually giving? You guys are working hard. You are actually doing something for the society, the NGOs, those who are actually on the field doing something about the real world. I am in an imaginary world. What am I doing for the society? And so that was the first question. Second question was that things which I love to do, it doesn't pay me. Things which I would not really like to do, they pay me a lot. So that's also the other question. To answer the first question, he said, Adil, that what you do is something very few people can do, is that you create empathy for the characters you are playing. Empathy is such a priceless and one of the most valuable human quality that very rarely it is practiced in such a high degree. And that you do through your performance. When you prepare a role with utmost honesty, sincerity, and depth, and with absolute empathy toward the role that you are playing, then you evoke empathy amongst the people, those who are watching the film or theater, and they understand not only through the intellectual or intelligence, but they feel the person that you are playing, and thus they forgive the person. And these two qualities that you evoke, forgiveness, that, oh, I see, that's why he murdered someone. I'm not saying it should go unpunished. I'm not saying that it should not be, you have to accept it, but you do not hate the person. You reject the action and do not reject the person. There is a possibility of rehabilitation of the person. There is a possibility that you forgive the person. There is a possibility that you will elevate yourself and you become inspiring enough for the person that you look down at. He or she can elevate, get inspired to elevate himself or herself to your level of your consciousness or awareness or your moral compass that we are talking about. So that's the first answer to the first question he gave me. So you're doing a very valuable job as long as you're doing it sincerely. If you're showing off, then you are off the track. And he's very good at keeping my legs on the ground, my feet on the ground. The second question about money, he says, Adil, money most of the time are in the wrong hands. Quite often, that is the case in the history of humanity. It is in the wrong hands. So you are earning money, not robbing somebody, by acting in the films that you are not really very fond of, not very deep, not very meaningful, but you earn the money. Now the responsibility lies on you, how you spend the money, what you do with the money that you are earning. Money is pure energy. It transforms. Like I give you 100 rupees, you can buy a bottle of a bottle of beer, or you can also buy a book. It depends. So it transforms into things, useful things, or it can be very, very harmful things. So how you transform the energy that you're receiving by your hard work, which you have put in from your childhood as an actor, and you are getting paid by somebody, and then you use the money, what do you do with it? So you can buy time for your family. You can give it to somebody who you trust, who would do something which you think from your perspective is good for the society, or you can do a play or do whatever you want. So the definition he gave me was beautiful. He said, as long as you use the money to appreciate the beauty of the universe, then you are doing okay.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Now, while we were having a chat over Zoom, one of the things you said, which is very profound, Adil, that you said, now you've done Othello hundreds of times. And he said, Firoz, doing Othello once is tougher than doing all the movies put together. How do you do the same thing over and over and over and over again with the same level of passion, with the same level of commitment as if you're doing for the first time? How do you do that? I mean, sometimes I have to do the same keynote 3 times and I'm already bored, right? But you are doing Othello 100 times.
I did,
and
yeah.
every time it's like the first time. How do you do that? And why is it that hard compared to doing, I know you told me about how you landed the role with Ishkia, but what's the difference? Just for us to understand from a process point, what's
it
the
warrants a very, the answer to that would include also how we fell out of love with the things or people that you fell out of love, or you just bought a phone, then after a few days it becomes like, yeah. You meet someone who you think that, oh my God, who is she? And then after 6 months or 7 months or a year, after 2 years, you're like, hi, how are you doing? First you're like, oh my God, you know. Second day, like, hi. Third. So after third year, you were like, hi, come sit. God, she is here again. Or he is here again. So this getting old or becoming familiar or used to is something that is a human tendency, and that is a consequence. This particular tendency is a consequence of not being able to retain your inner innocence like the one we had when we are 4 or 3 year old. And as an actor, I cannot afford not to have it. So my job as an actor is to recultivate or cultivate, which I have lost at the age of 3 or 4. I have to cultivate it and consciously cultivate it, work hard on it, so that I see the same tree which is in front of our house and find something new every day. It is the most important act which you can gift it to yourself. How is it possible for me to be curious about the person that you had been staying with, married, unmarried, or whatever the way you're staying together for so many years, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, wow, hey. So, and this, I'm telling you because I'm an example of that. And my wife and I, we are married for the last 17 years. We know each other for 23 years. And every day, if I go out even for an hour, I come back and we are like that. And this is not easy. This is a lot of hard work.
Adilda, you're putting me in trouble. My wife is listening.
Yeah. No, I'm putting not only you in trouble, everybody else. Not only wife, but also the husbands. Also the wives in trouble. Because this is so easy that we start taking things for granted. What we have, we don't value. We have heard this proverb since our childhood. You know, when we have teeth, we don't value our teeth, and suddenly one is gone, you're like, oh my God, what's going on? So, but to see the world with that particular curiosity, which we generally start, it starts eroding from our being. How do you come back to it, or how you slowly regain it? It's a constant hard work, and there are so many ways to do it. People are interested in it, you will find a way if you are really interested in it. But one thing which I can tell you, the key is to be present here and now. That's the key. What is the degree of your presence will decide how curious you would be to find out what's going on outside of you. And no matter how many times you met this person, and yet you look into the eyes and you see something, because there is no end to the mystery of this amazing organism created by nature, which is sitting in front of you. There is it's unparalleled creation of nature, or whatever you call it. So there is no question of getting bored by it. You cannot get bored by it. So while playing Othello, my job is to look at my co-actors, to be able to constantly be in the moment and respond to my co-actor as if I'm meeting her or him for the first time. That's my job. It's not that I succeeded every time in the beginning, but slowly towards the end. We did it for 10 years, Othello, and towards the end I realized that I got the hang of it. And that immediately seeped into my life. So it is always that you cannot suddenly be a very good actor unless you practice all the other qualities of which are required ingredients to be a better actor in life. You cannot suddenly be a good actor.
Beautiful. Now,
thank you.
the silence Adilda means that people are processing what you're saying is incredibly deep, so it takes time to process this. But I have a, what I've observed is, and I think you said this beautifully in Footprints of Water. Footprints of Water is not released yet, but he got the Best Actor award for it. And you said that the character in Footprints of Water was pretty close to you, so you could actually do that role pretty convincingly. Now, my question to you is, now if I look at your roles which you're famous for, the Bollywood ones, the Ishqiyas and the English Winglish. And I know when Ishqiya happened, you told the director some technical details about how it should be done and how close the frame should be. Only then you will do that role. So my question is there a completely different process when you are doing mainstream Bollywood movies versus when you're doing theater, or versus when you're doing a Footprints of Water, which is not seen as a mainstream thing, but that seems like your comfort zone? Is that something you can do pretty easily? Is it harder to do the Bollywood ones for you?
Good question. I don't know if it is harder because the demand is very little in a way. When I do in a film in Bombay, I don't like the word Bollywood much. Commercial Hindi films, if I do, it's a different genre of acting altogether. When I say different genre means like Kathakali, Kudiyattam, Terikuttu, Yakshagana from Karnataka. It's a different dance form. Similarly, acting in Bombay film industry, Hindi film industry, acting in Italian film industry. Like I acted in a film called Gangor, which was made by an Italian film director. And it was in English, so I delivered I spoke in a certain way, and the Italian director comes to me, Adil. I'm like, yeah. See, you are an Indian actor. I'm like, yeah, I'm an Indian actor. So why are you not moving your hand? I'm like, what do you mean? No, India is an odd country. No, you talk like, you must move your hand. Why are you behaving like Hollywood actor? So I'm like, what do you mean? No, see, Hollywood actor, let me just get rid of the accent, the Hollywood actor. So, so there are the climatic condition of each and every country also dominates the physical behavior of those people. It's very different, like people from northern or southern Italy will behave very differently than people in Scandinavian country. So their acting style is very different. I'm not talking about the truthfulness of the being. I'm talking about the physicality of the actor. So Bollywood is a genre, and I had been extremely fond of it since my childhood. But for some reason, from 1983, after I watched a film called Papillon, Justin Hoffman and Steve McQueen, that I watched in 1982 or 83, and I fell in love with that genre of acting, Dustin Hoffman, and so the internalization of the emotion, and it felt way more truthful than the exaggerated version of Indian acting, like, "Hoy, किस हरामजादे ने," blah blah blah. अगर किसी ने हिलने की कोशिश की तो भून के रख दूंगा kind of acting. Or हमारे, I don't want to take names, you know what I'm talking about. So the exaggerated version of Indian film reality, it stopped attracting my attention. I can put it that way. So I went toward much more sort of realistic, internalized and truthful version than only the exaggerated, superficial version of it. So that is the reason probably when I act in a Hindi film, it is easier for me to act, also because the directors are not demanding a certain depth of truth from me. But when I act in movies like What Will People Say, that's a Norwegian film And the director was extremely demanding, and rightly so. And that demand keeps me going, because that's what is the most interesting part. That the director is not happy with me. What can I do? What can I do more about it or less? So yeah, I think I would be happy when my nights are taken away by the
characters.
by the character. Like, I don't know, it would be the best position that if I don't know how to do it, then it's something interesting for me. Yeah.
Beautiful. One of the one of the debates, and we have had this at this stage many times. We had people like Nandita Das and many others who have come here, and this is a pretty interesting debate. Is that if there is a role where you have to play the person with disability, is inclusion about allowing a person with disability to do that role, or do you say that you're an actor and you are playing a certain character? So it doesn't matter. Like you said, you have played a transgender person, doesn't mean you have to be transgender. So what is your take on that? I just wanted to understand.
I think it matters. It matters now more, because if there are actors or they are people with special ability, they're willing to take the rigor and the challenge to train themselves to act, and they should get the first preference. And that is the most important part. They always must get the first preference. Otherwise, I can act. So, but then there must be a way to find an organization, a way, a platform where people can reach out to them. That, oh, these people are really into. Like, I just met someone who said she's writing a film and she wants me to act in it. Where is she gone? She was right here. Are you here? Still here?
Yeah.
Hey, you're there. Yeah. So I'll give you my email ID and would like to read your script. So now there are people who would be interested in acting, and why not? And if there are people who are willing to do it, and who could probably give some also benefit of doubt that we can, or some sort of training process is required, we should organize that and give them the opportunity.
Yeah.
Instead of bringing Adil, who would have to work hard in order to make it possible. Like, for example, Kalki, who's a dear friend of mine, and one of my teacher trained her to play in this film called Margarita with a Straw. And I was also involved in the training process of her. But if we had we known someone, then it would have been better that that person would get this opportunity to play the role. And I think that should be the best way to go. Yep.
Yeah, and we did screen 3 short films yesterday where the people with disabilities played that role with people with disabilities, and they were just incredible. I mean, they were outstanding actors. So there's no reason why people with disabilities cannot learn that craft like you can learn the craft as well. And that, I think, should be a great equalizer going forward. Now, we had Dr. Mohan Agashe here as well, and he was talking about what is the role of movies. He's a great believer that movies are meant for education. It's meant for entertainment as well, but the primary purpose of movies is to also be able to drive social change. Because movies have the ability to amplify messages in a way that is easy to consume, that's easy to understand. What, for you, is the purpose of cinema?
I think that is as complex as the purpose of cinema. To put it this way would be probably the best, is that to be able to capture and in depth, to be able to go deeper, it's almost like putting a microscope in between the eyes and the drop of grain or a drop of water. So movies could become that uh, can replace the microscope between the maker and the reality that we are facing every day. The complexity of the reality, the billion aspects of the truth of each and every human mind, human behavior, human conditions, all kinds of conditions. If we can retain the, or with the intent that we make a movie which is to look at a truth from several perspectives. And it doesn't have to be a social message. It could be just a character study, and to be able to see the magic of it, how complex it is, how difficult it is, to be able to understand the other. And that other could be a sunset, it could be a flower, it could be a situation, it could be an event, it could be the universe at large, it could be about anything, about, like, for example, when we look at these amazing documentaries which are shown in Discovery or other channels, you know, amazing world, the beauty of the nature. Now, beauty does not mean the ornamentation part of it, the flowery beauty of it also. The beauty is also about to be able to see, is very, very random example I'm going to give you, it just came to my mind. So it's like to be able to see the beauty inside the beast, the beauty and the beast. That is the job of art. How is it possible for us to see the spirit within the form, the inner workings of a human being, the inner workings of a society, the fabric of a society, not the superficial veneer that we all can see, but the inner workings. How deep can we go in order for us to elevate ourselves, to give a macro and micro view simultaneously of something, somebody, some event, some situations, in all conditions. That is because cinema is a very powerful medium, and we are in India and across the globe as well. This powerful medium has been weaponized only to earn money, unfortunately. And that is very disturbing sign. And we are consuming like fast food. Cinema has become like fast food. It sort of tickles the lower part of the body. It's called, Sri Aurobindo calls it the lower movement. It is very easily, what do you call that, easily stirrable. You can stir it easily. And it is very easy to sell fear, sex. I'm not saying these are bad things, but very easy to sell all those things. But very difficult to sell something which is uplifting, which opens your heart, which makes you feel light, which leaves you with a fantastic aftertaste. It's very difficult to make films like that. There are films, so many different kinds of filmmakers have made them. Like a film that I am part of it as well, called Life of Pi, is one of such films. So if we don't if we don't use this particular medium with responsibility, a human body will be suffering from consuming fast food every day. If we eat fast food every day, we will be sick. And that's what I see happening in the society, that we are watching fast food kind of movies every day, day and night. And that is extremely unhealthy for a society.
Beautiful, beautiful. So maybe I should ask this because a cliched question, Adil. I know this is not a very intellectually deep question, but this is a cliched question. Of all the films that you've done, and I'm keeping the theater part aside, is there something that is, when you look, first is, my question is, do you actually go back and watch the movies, your own movies? That's the first part. The second is, there are movies where you would have thought you gave the great performance, but the movie didn't do too well. And there may be cases where the movies have done well and you've got a lot of appreciation, but you somewhere deep inside said, I could have done better. So I just wanted to understand, number one, are you your best critic or worst critic? Do you go back and watch your own movies and say, I could have done this better? Is there some role that you are incredibly proud of? Like, I think I've done true justice to this. You could have done the best. You could have always done better, but you feel at that moment, you kind of literally, and that's sometimes it's a feeling, right? It's somewhere it has to feel. When people come here, one of the things we never do, I don't know if you know, we never do a survey. Every event has a survey. Please rate me 9 out of 10, 5 out of 10. We don't do those surveys because we say, we know the feeling. My team knows it. My team absolutely knows it when it is a little off. When it becomes impure, we feel it. I don't need a survey to do it. I don't have to ask, was the food 8 out of 9? Was the speakers 9 out of 10? We don't have to do it. We feel it, right? As an actor, I'm sure you feel that. It doesn't matter whether it's commercially successful or not. So I want your response to one particular role that you reflect and say, what, I think this is where I hit the sweet spot.
Wow. Most of the films I do, I watch it and I go back. Most of the time I start watching it like this. And then sometimes I forget, my hand goes down, not because of my performance, but because of the film. I remember watching this Italian film and it opened in Rome Film Festival. And I was there and I was like, oh my God, so the Indian ambassador sitting on my left, my other, co-actors are there, and so I have not seen the movie, not a single frame, and I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen to me now? And then I forgot about it, and it was such a beautiful film. My performance was average, but the film was so good. So it overshadowed my deficiencies, the film, because of the way it is being captured, the photography, the music, and the color, and the rhythm, and the direction. And thank you so much for doing, am I speaking slowly, or am I speaking too slow or too fast? Okay, thank you. So there, and most of the time, I've become much more generous toward myself, because my teacher had been also telling me, I'll just take it easy. Don't think you are too important to criticize yourself so much. You have done your thing, forget about it, it's okay. There's one film which I did, I think it is available on YouTube. I'm not supposed to say that, but I think it is. It's called Sunrise or Orunade. It's one of the toughest roles that I have done. It's a Marathi film. And that was the most difficult role. I played a cop, a policeman, whose daughter was kidnapped when my daughter was 10 years old, 10 years ago, and I had transferred myself into the missing person squad, and for last 10 years, after the day job, I try to go and find my daughter every night, and I can't find her. And I had no idea how to do that. The pain of this defeated failed cop and a defeated father and lost father and wife who has lost her emotional balance. I had to come back home and see her completely in a different, bizarre situation. So that was the most difficult role I have ever done, and one of the toughest one to shoot, because the entire film is in the night and in the rain. So I shot for 34 consecutive nights in the rain.
Wow.
So that is A very, if you have time, please watch it. I speak very few words, though in Marathi I could have spoken in Japanese as well, because I only speak very few words in the entire film, though I play the lead in that. Yeah, that's the toughest one.
Fantastic. Adilda, we could keep this conversation going on for the next 1 hour, 2 hour, but I'm so delighted that you took the time to come here. And I hope this is the first of many conversations. I hope you will be part of this inclusion movement. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause.